in the heart of North America's harshest desert, for tourists vanished without a single scream, without a witness, and without a trace. At least not for years. What began as an innocent family vacation in the summer of 1996 slowly transformed into one of the most chilling cases in American history. A case where evidence didn't appear for years. A case where investigators were forced to chase ghosts across thousands of square miles. And a case where every clue came in, fragments unbleached, half-buried, and scattered by time. This is the Silent Death Valley Mystery. But before we dive in, let me warn you, the deeper this story goes, the more unnerving it becomes, and the most frightening part is that every single detail you're about to hear is real. Let's begin. On July 8, 1996, 4 German tourists checked into the Bahia Hotel in Las Vegas. They were excited, energetic, and determined to experience the American Southwest. Their names were Cornelia Meyer, 34, her son Max, 4 years old, her friend Egbert Rimkus, 34, Egbert's son Georg, 10 years old. A vacation that should have been filled with photos, laughter, souvenir shops, and roadside snacks would instead become the final journey they ever took. At first glance, they were just another group of tourists, but their stories survived because of what happened next. And because of the journal, Egbert kept documenting every step of their trip. That journal would later become one of the most important clues in the entire investigation. When the group checked out of their hotel on July 22nd, the staff assumed everything was normal. The tourists were last seen loading into their rented Plymouth Voyager minivan. No one knew that this would be the last confirmed sighting of them alive. Days passed, then weeks. Family members back in Germany waited for their return. But no one came home, no one called, no one sent a postcard, nothing. At first, the families assumed maybe the group extended their vacation, but when the airline confirmed the tourists had missed their flight home, alarms began to ring. Late August. The German government officially declared the group missing. The alarm traveled across continents and reached American authorities. And soon, a massive joint search between the U.S. and Germany began. But here's the disturbing part. No one had any idea where to even start. The Southwest is enormous. The desert is unforgiving, and the roads stretch endlessly into nowhere. There were no leads, no eyewitnesses, no credit card activity, no phone calls. It was as if the desert had swallowed them whole. But everything changed when rangers checked the visitor log at Death Valley National Park. On July 23, 1996, one day after they left Las Vegas, a name appeared inside a Death Valley visitor logbook, signed in neat handwriting, Cornelia Meyer, to 4 people. It was a harmless signature, but it changed everything. Authorities now knew the tourists had entered one of the most dangerous places on Earth during the hottest month of the year, when temperatures can reach 130 degrees Fahrenheit, 54 grados. But this triggered a frightening question. Why would a family with 2 small children go into Death Valley in July, and deeper into the most remote section? Because the logbook where Cornelia signed wasn't at a popular tourist spot. It was at the entrance to Warm Springs Canyon, a rough dirt road leading far away from civilization. And the group's rental car wasn't meant for such terrain. This was not the route tourists ever took. This was the route experience. Off-roaders took the kind with heavy trucks, gear, and gallons of emergency water. Whatever pushed the German tourists down that road would soon become one of the greatest mysteries of the case. Search teams were deployed. Helicopters scanned the desert below, eyes scanning for any unusual shape. A vehicle, a trail, a reflection of sunlight. But Death Valley is enormous. Over 3 million acres, a place where a vehicle can disappear behind a ridge and never be seen again. A place where footprints vanish in minutes. Weeks passed. No signs. Authorities widened the search to all of Nevada and California. German police sent investigators and even helicopters. Still nothing. The desert remained silent. Months after the tourists vanished, on October 21, 1996, a national park ranger named Dave Brenner decided to search one last area, a remote, rarely traveled section of the park near Anvil Canyon. No one thought he'd find anything. But that day, everything changed under the brutal sun, miles from any paved road. He found it, the missing Plymouth Voyager. Its tires flat, its paint faded, its windows coated in dust. The vehicle had been driven deep into a place where no normal car should have survived. The discovery site was 2 hours from the nearest water source and 70 miles from the closest town. The first question investigators asked was, why were they here? What made them drive deeper and deeper into a desert that even seasoned experts avoid? Then came the next question. Where were the bodies? Inside the vehicle, empty water bottles, camera film, tourist maps, food wrappers, but no footprints, no signs of struggle, no indication of where they walked next. The desert had wiped the canvas clean. Inside the vehicle, Egbert's journal remained intact. It revealed the group's route, traveling through Las Vegas, heading to Death Valley, stopping at viewpoints, and eventually entering the area near Warm Springs. But the entries suddenly stopped. The last page ended without warning. The journal didn't explain why they went deeper. Did they get lost? Make a wrong turn? Misunderstand the map? Or was something else happening? Something they didn't have time to write about? We still don't know. But this was just the beginning of the search. From 1996 to 2009, yes, 13 long years, there were no new discoveries. 13 summers, 13 winters, 13 years of families waiting for answers. Investigators, hikers, volunteers, and desert explorers searched again and again, each time hoping to find bones, shoes, clothing, anything. Desert winds erase footprints, blow away soft materials, and scatter bones over miles. And so, the mystery grew colder and colder, until one day, a chance discovery changed everything. In 2009, a group of hikers exploring a remote region of the China Lake Naval Weapons Center, an area far outside the search zone, stumbled across something horrifying. Human bones. Nearby, a shoe, a wallet, German currency, and children's items. DNA tests confirmed what investigators long feared. The remains belonged to the missing German tourists. But here's the disturbing part. The remains were found nearly 30 kilometers from the abandoned vehicle in the direction of a distant military base. Why did they walk that way? Did they see something in the distance? Did they hope help was there? Walking 30 kilometers in 130-degree heat would be impossible for most adults, let alone 2 children. This discovery solved one mystery, but created another. Why did they leave the vehicle at all? In survival scenarios, experts say, stay with your vehicle. It is your shelter. Leaving means certain death. So why did they walk? After years of evidence, testimonies, and survival analysis, investigators slowly pieced together the most realistic explanation. Here is the official reconstruction. 1. They entered Death Valley intentionally, but underestimated the conditions. 2. They took a wrong turn onto an unmarked road, thinking it led to a shortcut. 3. The minivan could not handle the rough terrain. It overrated, lost tire pressure, and became immobile. 4. Stranded in 130 degrees Fahrenheit heat with limited water, they realized that they could not survive waiting for help. 5. They tried to walk toward what they believed was civilization, possibly seeing the distant military installations, mirages, or mountain shadows. 6. Heat stroke, dehydration, and exhaustion overwhelmed them. 7. Colon. They collapsed separately over miles, scattered by terrain and desperation. 8. The desert preserved their belongings, scattered their remains, and erased nearly all traces. It was tragique, not supernatural, not criminal, just a catastrophic combination of bad timing, bad luck, and one of the most hostile environments on Earth. But even though the cause was natural, the story still haunts people because of how silently it happened, how abruptly life ended, how an ordinary trip became a fatal odyssey. Let me ask you this. What would you do if you were stranded in a place where the ground burns your skin, where the horizon melts the air, where the silence itself feels alive? Would you stay with the vehicle? Would you walk into the unknown? Would you hope anyone would wander onto that same lonely road? These are the questions that German tourists faced. Questions with no easy answers. And the scariest part, their final footprints, their final steps, were never truly found. The desert hid them. The desert kept them. The desert only revealed their fate when it wanted to. Today, if you visit Death Valley, you might see tourists taking photos, smiling, laughing, stepping onto the hot sand without a second thought. But somewhere out there, beyond the trails, past the ridges, across the empty basins, lie the silent paths of Cornelia, Max Egbert, and little Georg. A family who came for adventure and found one final, fatal journey. Their story is a reminder that nature doesn't negotiate. It doesn't warn. It doesn't forgive. And sometimes the desert keeps its secrets for years before whispering them back. This was the silent Death Valley mystery. A tragedy, a warning, and one of the most haunting missing persons cases in modern history.